today's interview, and we're gonna meet up with an interesting person that I found a couple of years ago. So today we got with us Sean Hross. Welcome.
Hello, hello, Swedish people. I'll try and explain you a couple of things through history how we got here.
Yep.
About the enemy within.
Perfect. Today we're going to talk about Sean, a little bit about Sean's history. Who is Sean, and how he ended up in the place where he is today, and why he ended up. And we're also going to link to his material so you can dive deeper into his knowledge about these things. So please, Sean, tell me about your history and who is Sean Hross?
Yeah, I'm South African, and but I had to leave South Africa like 40 years ago. I'm 61 now, and because of the war, the border wars in Angola, Namibia, and Botswana, and I was also in Rhodesia, which is called Zimbabwe nowadays, but we still say Rhodesia. And I studied history at the university. I'm from an ancient French family that had to escape France 350 years ago because of the revolution and things going on. So in my family, there has always been a tradition of a transition of information from one generation to the other. So a lot of information I can tell you, and what I've been telling over the last 12 years on YouTube, I've got that through the transition of information inside of my family. And I also infiltrated Nazis when I got to Europe. And I finally got into the top of the Nazis, which is called Octagon. And they are in Switzerland. So from there, I got a lot of more information. My aim to infiltrate the Nazis and neo-Nazis was not to betray them or hurt them or write a book about it, go to the newspapers or to the police. No, I did it only because I wanted to understand and also to help them, because they're completely on the wrong path. Yeah, so, and then I finally ended up in Switzerland, and because I explained how in my videos how the Swiss, how they finance the Nazis and why, they arrested me with an anti-terrorist court several times. I ended up in at the front page of several of the biggest Swiss newspaper, the Blick. I put it in some of my videos. And so I finally had to leave Switzerland because they had put me in prison for 5.5 years, where I got severely tortured. You know, if you're a whistleblower, I mean, they kill you. You're dead, just like Julian Assange and many others. So I had to escape from Switzerland, in spite of the fact I've got my wife, my 3 children, a house. So all of a sudden, 8 years ago, I found myself in the middle of winter in the snow in France, and I had to leave my family and everything. And so this is, in short, the whole situation. Yeah.
Sure. So, and you've been living around Europe for the last couple of years, and been touring around and sharing knowledge about different places and different historical parts of Europe.
Yeah, exactly. I've My main objective is the Knights Templars. And so I've been filming in Spain and Italy, Belgium, Luxembourg, France, a lot of ancient Templar commanderies. Many have been taken off by YouTube because of the censorship. So they're gone forever, as they took down my biggest channel like 5 years ago. And all these videos are gone because I'm basically traveling around only with a big backpack. And because of the Swiss police arrested me, and they did 2 huge house searches, during which they stole everything, the hard disks, you know, the SD cards, the USB sticks, computers, cameras. So everything was gone. And these videos are like gone forever. Over the years, I've always been asking people if they could download my videos. Some people have done it. So this is how a lot of videos, you know, are still there somewhere. They are at, a lot of my videos are at an Israeli video platform, which is called Ahava 528. And because I'm not Jewish or something, or I can't say this word. I use for these people, I use the word jaywalker, because like on YouTube, they immediately take your video off if you use the J word. I've got nothing against these people. So I'm just finding all new words, you know, like I call them the jaywalkers. For the people in Africa, I call them Nubians. For these people like the gender benders, you know, I call them the pink list killers. You know, they're like, because they want to kill the patriarchy, which they openly say, and I'm pink listed because I've been telling things about them which they don't really like. Like the pink list killers, they're very, very much integrated into the Nazi system. Already the Nazis, there were many really big top Nazis like Ernst Röhm of the brown shirts, the stormtroopers. Well, he was a pink list killer. He liked to rape other men. There was Baldur von Schirach. He was one. He was an aristocrat too. But there's the part von, you know, the aristocrats in German. And he was the head of the Hitler Youth. And he was a pink list killer, you know, like raping all these little boys, you know. The female part of the Hitler Youth was called the BDM, the Bund Deutscher Mädels. And at the head of this, there was another pink list killer. Her name was Jutta Rüdiger. And today, you know, we have, or we had Jörg Haider of the Nazis in Austria, pink list killer. There was in the Netherlands, there was this, the Pim Fortuyn. I don't know how to pronounce it. A pink list killer. Well, they killed him over there. In France, there's Renaud Camus, right wing, and he wrote this book, The Great Replacement, the guy who murdered all the people in the mosque in Christchurch in New Zealand, he went and visited him. He even lives in a real castle. And next to that castle, I've been filming because there are quite a lot of Templar commanderies and castles in that area. And of course, the second man in the Le Front National in France, it's Florian Philippot. He's a pink list killer. In Germany, there's Alice Weidel of the AfD, right-wing party, a pink list killer. She's living with another woman in Switzerland, though she is the head of the German Nazi party, etc., etc., etc. And the pink list killers don't really like what I've been doing, you know. So, you know, for people who are like left-wing, they should know that the pink list killers, they're not really nice people, you know, that they need to defend. Because the pink list killers, they betrayed the valors of the left-wingers. You know, and it's all hidden, these sort of things, although everybody can look it up and check it out for himself, you know. And these pink list killers, they have used the left-wing parties or the left-wing movement to have themselves accepted in society, and like being married, you know, pink list killer with another pink list killer and all this stuff. But at the same time, they attack the valors of the left wing, you know, and join the opposite, like the extreme right wing parties. And of course, they want to kill all the Muslims because, and also the jaywalkers, because for those people, it's completely forbidden due to their religion, you know, like being a pink list killer and all that. So everything is a complete mess and everything is a lie. And on top of everything is Pharaoh. We're being ruled by pharaohs, people. Like if we take the king of Sweden, and actually he's related with Donald Trump. There are some great people in Iceland, genealogists, who have checked out his whole genealogical tree of Donald Trump, and he's related with the, I don't think with the King of Sweden actually, but with the King of Norway and with the Queen of Denmark.
I think there is a connection to Sweden as well. I'm not saying that it is that way, but I've read it. So there are speculations in that we got that connection in Sweden as well.
And this is why actually we don't find any castles in Europe before the year 1000. So this means we have no European nobility. There are no Swedish kings and queens, because otherwise we would have had castles that go back 6,000 years ago. There are maybe one or two castles from the year 800, but that's very rare. And so where do they come from? You know, all these kings and queens who have always ruled for the last 1,000 years in a feudal system over the European nations, you know, where do they come from? All of a sudden, 1,000 years ago? Well, it's quite easy. 15 years ago, they found out with the genetic analysis that more than 50% of the Europeans, of the white race, they have pharaonic DNA in the bloodstream. So 50% have nothing. And the other 50%, they have sometimes 4%, 5, 6, or 7, not very much. And people are asking themselves, what? We are in Sweden, or we are in France. I'm in France here. So how is this possible? Well, in the Middle Ages, the nobility, they had this law, which is called the jus primae noctis in Latin. Jus, that means the law. Primae, it means the first, and noctis is the night. And that means, in English, the first right. So at the first night, the first right, or the first night also, the right of the first night. Because at the first night of a wedding of a Swedish girl, she had to go and sleep with the lord in the castle who would rape her. And this is how the nobility, they injected the pharaonic genetics into the whole of our women, if you understand what I mean. So that means that the aristocracy, they are pure pharaohs. And we've been ruled by the pharaohs for at least 2,000 years. They already came with the Roman Empire. So there are many people who think, you know, like the jaywalkers, especially right-wing people, that the jaywalkers, you know, the J people, I can't pronounce the name, but you know now. Emil here will put some translations in the description of what is what.
Exactly, and I will put the links that you've been talking about to your different channels as well in the descriptions box. Everything will be there.
Yeah. So, I mean, the jaywalkers, they are not the one who rule the whole world. I mean, I'm not a jaywalker, and I don't really give a rat's ass about any jaywalkers. I've got nothing against them, but I'm not one of them, you know. But, you know, I'll tell you the reason why these jaywalkers are actually all over Europe. For a lot of right-wing Swedish people, they think, well, they came here, you know, to conquer us and to rule over the Swedes. But it's not like this. First of all, the jaywalkers also have a nobility, like King Solomon, like King David, and they have hundreds of kings. And it also reads in the Bible that King Solomon, who was the son of King David, he was married with the daughter of Pharaoh. And it reads literally in the Bible. So if you take people like families like Rothschild, they are barons. It's Baron de Rothschild. So they belong to the jaywalker nobility, and therefore they are not ordinary jaywalkers. It's the same for the Swedish people. A normal Swede, but he's not part of the nobility. And a normal jaywalker, he has nothing to do with this Rothschild family. You know, all peoples, we all have the nobility. The Arabs have it, you know, they have caliphs and emir and sheikh and all this. The Asians, they have it, you know, like the Japanese emperor, who has a really big nose, you know, like this, the last Japanese emperor. And if you look at it, you know, if you look at the nobility, at the old pictures, they got really long and big noses, just like Pharaoh Ramses the Great, a really big nose. It's not the jaywalkers who have big noses. They don't. And I met a lot of nice jaywalker people in my life, and who are not the enemy. You know, the enemy is, I call them the Pharaohstocracy, because they are the aristocracy of Pharaoh. And this is why French actually became the language of the nobility, also in Sweden. There were Swedish kings who couldn't even speak Swedish, you know, because French has always been the language of the nobility. At the English court, you know, like King Richard Lionheart, he couldn't even speak English. He only spoke French. Richard Le Coeur Lion. Even at the Russian court or the court in Prussia, they only spoke French. And this is why, you know, when Pharaoh's nobility, when they came with the Roman Empire, you know, when they made the Roman Empire, because most of the Roman emperors, I mean, the conquest of Europe, it started with the Roman Empire, right? When we lost our freedoms. This is when it happened. And if you look at Caesar, he was married with Cleopatra. So he officially also was the Pharaoh of Egypt. And there are many, many Roman emperors who are officially on the list of pharaohs. So after Egypt went down, actually, it got conquered by the Romans, and it became a Roman province. And all these pharaohs and the Pharaohstocracy, they all went to Rome. And actually, Rome was a republic with a senate. It was democratic. But the moment Caesar took charge of everything, he murdered all the Celtic people in France. And from this moment on, Caesar, he made a dictatorship out of Rome. So Rome was before, it was, as we say, a horizontal rule with a parliament and a senate, where there are more people on one line, equally important, taking all the political decisions by voting. And then it became a vertical rule with Caesar, only one man, a dictator, going all the way down to the last person. And it became a dictatorship and perpetrating terrible atrocities on the European peoples. And this is why Rome finally got taken over by Pharaoh. And Rome was also founded by the Pharaohs, actually. And in the year 455, when Rome was sacked by the Germanic tribes, like the Langobard and most of all the Vandals, that's why we still have the word vandalism, because they destroyed Rome in the year 455. So I believe in the situation to where we're in now, the only peoples, the only tribes of this world who can achieve to conquer the enemy within and the Pharaohsocracy are the Germanic peoples, because there has never been any other people who has been capable of doing this. Not in the Middle East, not in Africa, not in Asia. There's only one people who has ever been able to conquer back Pharaoh, and these are the Germanic tribes. And this is why the Pharaohs, they want to believe the Germanic tribes and the Swedes and the Germans and all this, the English, they want us to believe that the enemy are the jaywalkers, so nobody thinks of them. This is one of the reasons. And this is also why they want to completely destroy the white race by pouring in, Nubians and Muslims and people from all over in order to destroy the white race, because they are very, very much afraid of the white race. Because the white race did it once in Rome, and they are capable, they still have the potential to do it again. And I hope with my information, it will help so we can do it again one day and get rid of the enemy. So the enemy are not the Muslims, it's not the Nubians, it's not the jaywalkers, it's the enemy within. It's Pharaoh, the Pharaohsocracy, and they all have been raping our women, and they've always been ruling over us. And so the Pharaohs, they became the aristocracy, and in Rome they couldn't stay because the Vandals, they were looting everywhere. And then they said to themselves, the Pharaohsocracy in Rome, they said, okay, well, we can go to France. We murdered everyone, during the Celtic genocide on the Gallic people, les Gaulois, like Asterix, and Obelix. And they said, well, it's completely free. We can go to France. And this is why there are so many castles in France. And this is why French became the language of the nobility before they expanded again all over Europe. And it's interesting that there was a Greek historian, I don't remember which one. He even wrote about the Scandinavians being in Egypt in like 3,000 years ago. And he called them the Haunebu people. And they were people who came with boats. And so as far as I understood, in the Swedish language, Haun, it means the harbor.
Yeah.
And Bu, it means to live. And this is actually the same word as a Viking, as far as I don't understand your language, but this is what I understood of it. And they really talked about the Haunebu. It's in the scriptures somewhere, in the hieroglyphs, 3,000 or 4,000 years ago. So this is why the first nobility actually in Europe, they are not the nobility who came from Rome and settled into France, but this is the nobility like the Merovingians and all this, who actually came from the north. So there are one or two castles from the year 1000 and from the Merovingians and the East Goths and the West Goths and all that. And they actually came from the north. So my guess is that these pharaohs, they already 4,000 years ago, they made an alliance with Vikings, although it's not really the era of the Vikings. The era of the Vikings is like the year 1000 and 800s and all this. But I guess they already existed before that. And if you compare the Viking ship, scientific proofs have been given that these people, like living, in a forest, in bear skins, like Germanic tribes in Sweden, they couldn't have made a perfect, streamlined ship like the Drakkar. And if I compare the Drakkar with the old pharaonic ships, well, it's exactly the same. It's exactly the same thing. So my guess is, through just thinking logical, that the Vikings, who were more like rude people, drinking beer and mjød and killing people, they were not really, they got this high technology of the Drakkar. They got it from the Egyptians, who really were far more developed, as we know. And also in Italy, in Venice, you find the same sort of ship, and Venice is quite special. It's a center of the ruling powers and the banking powers in Italy. And I mean, if you cross the dip, you also get to ancient Egypt. So they possibly in Venice, they already had also, just like the Vikings, they already had connections with the pharaohs. So, the pharaohs, they come somewhere, and they smile and they say, yeah, nice, we're going to help you. And then slowly, they take control of you. They take away your freedom. They build castles. And by the way, the Europeans, they've never been building in stone. The Swedes and the Germanic people in France and everywhere, we've been living in dirt huts, like the Nubians in Africa. We are nothing more than little white niggers, if you allow me to say this. I've got nothing against those people, but we were living in dirt huts, with cows, made with cow shit and earth and a little bit of straw, not even wood, because the people didn't even have a saw, just some branches they could find, to keep the shit together. So the first people who built in stone, it's the nobility building castles, and the church building monasteries. And the church is the same, they raped with the Christianity and all this. They raped our old Nordic beliefs, and saying, some power in the sky is going to save you, don't defend yourself, like the Nordic belief was more like defend yourself, and only someone who defends himself, he gets into the paradise with the Valhalla. And they change it like don't defend yourself. And this is exactly what they want. And the 10 Commandments, by the way, they can be found in the old scriptures of Pharaoh. They are called the 42 principalities of Ma'at, the goddess Ma'at. So Moses, he's just a plagiarist. He just stole it from Egypt. And Moses, of course, he's one of the pharaohs, also misleading the jaywalkers. And so, the Germanic tribes, the Swedes, the Vikings, we never build in stone. The first ones in stone, it's the aristocracy, as they were used to do at River Nile in Egypt. They are the stone builders. The Germanic tribes, the European tribes, we're more like the ship builders. We're not the stone builders. We lived in shitty dirt huts, running around in a bear skin. We're not that scientifically advanced, and not even the fabulous Drakkar ship. It's all pharaonic design. They are the designers, And
yeah, I have my thoughts on the whole. I'm with you on the whole thing that up north or in this region we're making buildings out of the natural materials like wood and stuff, and and if you go down to Egypt and stuff, you use stone, and I guess you need. And this is my own conclusions, but is that they had a different kind of knowledge about how stone works, and they had a knowledge of melting and pouring stone, and we don't have the right sunlight in this atmosphere or in this region to make stone melt. So that's my conclusion, is why they've been using more stone work in Egypt regions and that in the Nordic. But
well, they're more intelligent. They're superior. They are a superior race. You know, we have no idea how intelligent they are. You know, and they are far more advanced. I mean, they had a writing 6,000 years ago already, and they with science, repairing teeth and all this. When the Europeans, the Germanics, and the Swedes, they were still running around in bearskins and climbing trees, not even being able to write down anything. They're far more advanced, and we shouldn't underestimate them. They're also very much advanced in lying, and everything they tell us is a lie. You know, the whole history is based upon lies and lies and lies. They are far more advanced and far more intelligent than we are. The only great thing the Germanic tribes have, they are the best warriors in the world, and the only ones who could defend themselves against these pharaohs. So this is where our power lies, and also the belief system of the Valhalla, the Nordic belief system. These are our two powers which we should get back and fight them back, because they are no warriors. We are the warriors, and it has been enough now. We should rise up. It's time to rise up. Otherwise, we will all perish.
Sean, I like
you must go. I understand.
I understand, but I like your views on a soldier and a warrior.
Yeah, I made a text once, a soldier versus a warrior. You know, a soldier, he takes orders from a general, and a warrior doesn't. He takes the orders from his own conscience. And a warrior, he fights for justice. A soldier fights for injustice. A soldier kills children. A warrior doesn't kill children. A soldier needs to drink and use drugs. A warrior needs to keep his mind sharp, and he believes in a power beyond, you know. I will send it to your email.
Perfect. Perfect. And I can put it in the description box as well. But yeah, Sean, sure. I think we have gone through about 2.5 years, 1,000 years of history, and I guess it's a lot of questions in what you just been telling us. So if it's okay for you, I would like to sum up the interview today and maybe continue with a part 2 where we go deeper into the questions and deeper into your knowledge about your understanding of how everything works.
Yeah. Now, I mean, it's a lot easier. I've seen your face now. The thing works. I hope the recording has worked. And as far as I'm concerned, we can do that today sometime or tomorrow.
I would like to post the interview, and then I'm gonna be bombarded with email and comments, and then I summarize the comments or take out the parts that I think are interesting and going deeper in, and we can just talk about those questions together in the part 2.
Yeah, okay, that's fine with me. I mean, it's a lot easier now, as I've told you. I know who you are, and there's some more confidence, and so it's going to be easier to reconnect and everything. And yeah, it's fine with me.
Perfect.
Good to know you.
Perfect, Sean. I'm really glad that you taken your time and doing this with me. I appreciate you, Sean, and I hope you will find a safe place in your life and with your family, and you can just live in peace and quiet.
Yeah, I'm lucky that at the moment I'm staying in this house, an old house of some French people, but it's not going to be for long anymore. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to make this interview. Neither I would have been able to make all these videos I've done over the last year. Because before 7 years, when I was kicked out of Switzerland, I was just running around with my backpack, and well, I'm getting older as well. I'm 61 now. It's so yeah. Well, anyway, I'm everything. All my videos. It's my present to humanity. I'm not a right wing. I'm not a left wing. I think we should all team up together. All people of the world. We all have the same enemy, and that's the aristocracy. We should put aside all the little quarrels, which we have amongst each other. First, we must beat the aristocracy, the enemy we have in common, and then we can settle all the problems we have with each other. And so that's what I think. So I'm ready to help you and help the Swedish people. It's my present to humanity, and I'm here for you.
Much appreciated, Sean. So you got my contacts, and if you have any questions, wherever you wind up and have any problems, you contact, and we will try to help each other.
And you can contact me when you want to continue the interview, and tell me where you have posted it. Like.
Yeah, I will send you the links. I will send you the link, Sean. Yeah. So for now, thank you very much, Sean, and have a brilliant day.
Yeah. Okay, bro. Good to know you.
Take care. Bye.